Hello everyone, welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina. This is Charlotte Douglas Airport, and today we'll be doing a flight to George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston, Texas. And this is going to be with the Labs A320, and it'll be American Airlines Flight number 745, just a little over 2 hours to get over there today. It's been a long time since I've been in the Airbus, many months. For a while I couldn't get it to work. I've had some issues with it, but I got it working now, and this is my first flight back into it, so that'll be fun today. This is GSX that you're seeing here. We're getting the catering loaded, and now sped ahead to the luggage being put on the plane. I kind of like the shots that I got today. They look pretty cool, and I'm also using Ultimate Traffic for the traffic if you see anything in the background. But yeah, I like the footage I got today of the cargo being put on the plane. Especially this next shot here, actually get to go. They modeled the inside of it pretty nice to where getting in there with the camera actually looks good. So this is skyvector.com. I use this to map out my routes. I don't use it to plan my routes. I get my routes usually from SimBrief or FlightAware, but then I do map them out on SkyVector. So we're going to be departing out with the Ester 3 departure, and then that's going to bring us southwest and down this way, which will put us into Texas, where I don't know our arrival yet, but this is the direction we'll be coming in. Actually, no, it'll be the Doobie 2 arrival. That will be the arrival that we'll be doing. And yeah, that's the route today. It's a quick route, a little bit shorter than some of the routes we've been doing lately. And yeah, we're just going to get going here. Okay, we're starting the pushback, starting the number 2 engine. And Charlotte is a really good-looking airport. If you're looking for an airport, if you wondered if you want to get Charlotte's done really nicely. The ground textures are my favorite part about it. You know, it really shows the wear and tear of the airport with all the, you know, the oil stains and rubber marks on the ground. It's real good. Performs pretty nicely too. Now I'm not running the FS Labs update for 4.2. I actually rolled back to 4.1 of prepared, mainly because there was a bunch of things that weren't working for me. So I rolled it back to 4.1. For a while, I couldn't get the steering to work in the A320. I know you have to put the tiller on, you hit the comma key, but it just wouldn't steer. And I don't know, one day it just started working. I don't know what changed, but it works now, and I got my settings. The frame rate looks pretty good. On my normal profile it didn't look that good, but I just turned off basically all the reflections. That really helped, and I can't tell the difference of not having them, so I'm probably just going to leave them off for other planes, and that'll actually probably increase my frames per second on other aircraft. So we're leaving the terminal. We're going to taxi on the Echo over to 18 Center, and that's the runway we'll be departing out of today. And this aircraft was, well, the developer was under a lot of controversy recently because people discovered there was actually malware released with it that was used to catch people who were pirating it. I think a specific person who was pirating the software. And I believe if you put in a bad password, or a serial number, or one of the cracked serial numbers, that they would, they would get that information that you did that. It was recording things in the Google Chrome browser, which I don't use Google Chrome, so I don't know if it had the capability to get into other browsers. But yeah, so a lot of people were upset about that. I don't think it's as big of a deal. They've since, gotten rid of it, fixed it. And I think it was one individual that did this. I don't think the whole company kind of was aware this was going on. but definitely not a good tactic to catch anybody who's pirating. I wouldn't risk putting malware in your software to catch a pirate. But you know, it's still a great A320. I think there's still a great bunch of developers, and everybody deserves some forgiveness. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. We're gonna hold short here. Alright, the sun has come out a little bit. And yeah, this is one of my favorite parts. This airport, like I said, has great ground texture, so the runways look pretty incredible. But great airport. Except for at night. It looks pretty trashy at night because the cracks in the runways light up with this white glow. And I don't know that that's been fixed. I haven't checked it out at night, but that was my experience before. Now I'm still pretty bitter about that because I did a really long flight over here that I was actually recording a video for a while back, and then I go to land and the whole airport's lit up like that, so it was kind of a waste of not a waste of a flight, but I didn't get to use the footage. But alright, we're gonna get out of here. I'll be with you in the air. V1, rotate. Positive brake gear up. And we'll set the climb power. And we're good. It's definitely springtime. You can see everything getting a lot more green out there. As we're halfway through April, May is approaching fast. And then, so we're just 2 months out from Flight Sim Expo. And what a great weekend that's going to be. Hope to see some of you there if you live in the area or you're traveling over. Let me know, are some of you traveling to Vegas or you live around Vegas and going there? How is that going to work? And if so, what are you most excited about Flight Sim Expo? Me, I'm most excited I get to meet some of the, I've met a few of the people who I work with on FSElite when I traveled to the UK last fall. But there's a whole bunch more coming to the show here in the States that I'll get to meet. And just getting to meet other people in the community and developers. I know I heard Air Force Proud is going to be there, who does the kind of like the FSX trolling videos, which are really, really funny. If you haven't seen his stuff, check it out. I think he's got a really, it's just, he adds the comedy to flight simulation, and it's great. What he does, he's pretty witty with that stuff. So, just got the autopilot on. This plane's done some weird things to me when I've been flying with it all week. You know, just trying to get back into it, and sometimes I'll load up prepared and my controls will be all off, or I have even had encountered times where I fly the plane, takes off fine. When it comes time to land, either my brakes no longer work, and I don't mean with the Airbus, just my brake pedals don't work, my throttle doesn't work, all the buttons I have assigned are no longer assigned, or I'll go to like arm the speed brake, and instead of arming the speed brake, it switches to a different camera view. Those things like that have been happening with this aircraft. Yeah, so, but luckily I have controls saved and you can just import them whenever that happens, so that saves me there. But we have just a little bit of clouds to go up through. We're gonna go up to 38,000 feet. Right now we're set to go up to 10. But once we reach 10, a little after that, I'll switch it up to 38,000. And I realized later I didn't have the beacon on. I thought I had the beacon on, but I guess I didn't. I get it on later, but I just noticed right there I didn't have it on. So I think the next flight I do will also be an Airbus flight. I really want to get the hang of flying this plane again. The hardest part is the landings. I've watched a few videos recently. There's one by Black Box on YouTube. And really what you need to know with it is once you hit the 50 feet mark on your landing, the plane memorizes the pitch you're at. So then you just gently start to pull back and get your flare going from there. But it's a technique you really have to get down. It's different from the other aircraft. It's different from the Boeing stuff, 737s and 47s. It's just a little different. Once you get that down, I guess you're gold, man. You're good. Reaching cruise altitude right now. We're leveling off at 380, and that's pretty much it. There's a lot of cloud cover the whole way out there, so we're not going to see much of the land today. And then even once we get to Houston, they got clouds pretty far down to I think around 1,800 feet, 2,000 feet. So we're going to be shooting an ILS approach for sure in there, a proper ILS approach, because we will not be able to see the ground below us, let alone the airport. But yeah, my understanding is that the Aerosoft Airbus is coming soon. That was the Airbus I started with a long time ago. I always liked their Airbus. Their exterior models are pretty good on that plane. And it's going to have the, I believe it's using TFDI's rain effect. So that'll be nice. Still need to pick up that one on X-Plane. The name always escapes me, but it's the aircraft, the A320 on X-Plane that has the windshield rain effect, which is done pretty nicely actually. But yeah, maybe I'll have to do something in Europe with this plane. I don't know where. Maybe something out of Innsbruck, or actually that'd be real nice. Something out of Innsbruck to I don't know where. Something. But I think it'll be good to do a European flight. Across the pond was yesterday. That was pretty cool. I didn't participate, but I did hop on VATS by throughout the day. Just cool to see tons of planes going across the Atlantic there, and on Project Fly too. Not as many were on Project Fly as VATSIM, but that was really cool to see. We're actually starting our descent now. Kind of getting carried away with the conversation here. But yeah, we're starting to descend. This was a short flight, and like I said, all you could see is clouds, so there's a lot of footage I didn't include. But we're on our way down now. We're going to start with 7,000 feet, and then we'll go down to 2,000 and pick up the glide slope from there. And that'll bring us on into 26 left, so ILS for 26 left today. And then that'll conclude our flight. So yeah, for the future of this channel, probably next video, A320, do something in the 737, some prop plane stuff, then back in the 747. I really want to do a how-to with the Coronado, the Premier 390. I did one for the Citation, the CJ2, so I'd like to do one for 390 because I really like that plane, and I don't think there's too much. I like to do tutorials for planes that they haven't been done on before. Sometimes people ask me to do a tutorial for the 737, and it's so much time and effort for an aircraft where there's already tons of great tutorials. I mean, there's tons of them out there that are great. So I don't really want to, you know, do that. I do think I can articulate things pretty good, and maybe that's why people want me to do it. I guess I don't know, but there's so many good ones already out there to where I wouldn't want to do one. But I would do one for planes that, you know, haven't been done yet. So we got a lot of soup that we're about to go through up ahead, and this is pretty exciting for me because I haven't actually shot an ILS approach like this in a while, let alone in this plane. I mean, I've been practicing ILS approaches in this plane, so I think I have it pretty much, I'm comfortable with it. We're going to get the localizer on now to try to intercept that. But I've had all kinds of weird things happen with this plane in trying to get it figured out. Like, for instance, the CRS in the CDU got wiped out. So I was wondering why my localizer wasn't capturing at one point at another airport I was coming into. Even though I'd entered it and it showed that it was entered, it needed to be entered again to, I don't know, to have it in there. Because it wasn't showing up on the PFD. Or, no, it doesn't show up on the PFD, it shows up on the MFD over there. But it wasn't showing up, it was showing up as 000, so it's going to take the, you know, a north direction for that. So I had to put it in twice, and then it worked. But if it doesn't have a CRS, it does not know what to do, and it'll just kind of turn back and forth. It'll descend, but it's not going to go. So we're almost heading into the clouds. And when this kind of happens, it reminds me of, I don't know if any of you went to a car wash when you're a little kid and you're riding in the back of the car. You're going to go through the car wash and it gets dark and there's all this water and stuff. That's kind of what going through the clouds like this kind of reminds me of, because the lighting in the plane gets a little darker. You can't really see much. And yeah, it just reminds me of that. And we're going in now. Down to 2,000 feet, the localizer we're not really capturing that yet. I like to get it on early because it doesn't hurt anything, but to have it on early. But I like to start capturing it as soon as I can, because if you're not totally on the localizer, then the approach mode doesn't really work if you're not on it in time. I mean, you could almost be there, but if it's not perfectly lined up, it doesn't like the approach mode. It'll usually stay at 2,000 instead of descending below it. So, yeah, I don't even know the last time I flew this plane. It's just like, I wanted to, but, I mean, I did a live stream with it, which was a horrible idea. That was the first time I had flown it in so long, and I didn't have it set up right at all. As far as like my throttles kept moving, and that was the worst. Actually, on landing, right on short final, the throttle popped out of whatever the mode it needs to be in, the flex mode or I forget the mode you keep it in the whole time while you fly. It popped out of that on short final, and it just screwed up the whole landing. And I switched my throttle quadrant box. I switched to another one. I'm not having that problem anymore, so it was definitely the quadrant. That was my other problem with this plane, is that when my throttles would move all the time, that doesn't work with this plane because you have to keep it locked into place. And there's also a setting for that you can change that changes the sensitivity of it moving. But everything's working good now. I'm happy with the frame rate for the most part, and the plane just behaves better than it ever did for me. So we're starting to see some of the ground, a little bit. Almost have the localizer. We're going to start putting the gear down as we're about 10 miles away, and we'll slow the plane down. On the approach mode, and then it's going to send us down the glide slope onto the runway. Shouldn't have to do an auto land. I'll be taking over once we get out of these clouds and we can actually see the runway. Still using my yoke for this flight. I have a stick. Stick is probably way better. I've actually never flown the Airbus with a stick.
500.
I'm going to go down to 135 knots. We're pretty light today. Full flaps landing. This might be the last cloud, looks like. And there we go, we have the runway. Normally I'd cut the autopilot by now, but I'm going to leave it on until about 500 feet, cut it off then, because I want a really stable approach, and I am still not proficient with this aircraft at all yet. So the more stable approach, the better. I actually had this plane usually around this point, actually, on a flight I did recently. Autopilot, it was raining out, and the autopilot just disconnected, wouldn't come back on. So, and it was still pretty low visibility. I couldn't see the runway yet, so I had to hand fly it in, and everything went okay. Got a 300 feet per minute landing. But active sky was doing that. Still have to adjust those settings.
.500. .400 above. 300 minimum.
Continuing.
.200. .100. 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. Retard.
Alright, we'll get the reverse thrust out. It wasn't too terrible. That was actually probably one of my better landings in this plane. I'm gonna have to try it out with a stick, because my yoke has a pretty significant dead zone, so you start lightly yanking back on the yoke and you're not getting response in the aircraft for like a second after that, so it kind of makes the flare, which is when you have to be really gentle and precise. It makes that Kind of difficult to do, but I'll get there. I'm gonna take this exit here. Kind of trying to get used to steering it. Then we got it good now. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the replay. I put together a whole little video of it, section by section. So I think you guys will like this. Now the replay mode doesn't always show the spoilers and the reverse thrust, especially in the PMDG products. When you show the replay mode, if you're not using the one in chase plane, it oftentimes will not show the reverse thrust or the spoilers. And then, you know, anytime I do a video, most videos I explain that during the replay, but anytime I do a video where I don't explain that, somebody comments, "Hey, you didn't use spoilers, you didn't arm the spoilers," and I'm like, "No, I did." If you see that they are armed, they worked. It's just the replay mode is not capturing it. So people are basing that off the replay. So I have to say something in every video, I guess, or just reply to the comments. I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much going to conclude this flight. We're going to park it over at one of the American gates over here. And apologize if I don't always park them at the right terminal. I have no idea usually. That information, I don't know where you get that always, unless you've been on the flight. Sometimes FlightAware has it and it's right, sometimes it's not, sometimes they don't have it at all. When it comes to the overseas airports out of the United States, sometimes you're kind of out of luck. I personally do not know, especially with the larger airports. I don't know always what terminal is correct, so I try to pick one that I think is right, but it always isn't right. So we're going to we'll try to line up with the jetway here. This airport looks really nice too. George Bush. And actually I stopped a little too soon. We're going to pull up a little more, but very slowly. Probably blinding everybody in the terminal right now with the taxi light on. If I had a first officer, they would turn that off right now, but I don't. Oh, also, I have a interview coming up on the FSElite channel really soon. I think in a week or more it'll be out, so make sure you check that out. It's going to be Callum Martin interviewing me about flight simulation, what I do, and tips for anybody who wants to get into YouTube for flight simulation. So make sure you check that out. But alright guys, thanks for joining along. That guy just drove over the cone. But thanks for joining along on another flight, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time. You take care.